I'm Dana Lawson. I'm the Director of Site Engineering at Relic. And what does site engineering mean at Relic? At other places, like at Amazon, if you ask them what site engineering is, they're the team that actually runs the Amazon site. That's not what we do. It's our DevOps crew. And so, if you've noticed by the title of this, that's kind of my now world famous saying, if it touches production, it is production, because really the way that we think about our production environment has changed dramatically in probably the last 5 years. We're using SaaS-based tools, we're using open source, we're writing our own. Nothing, well, some things, most things are not on-premise anymore. So when you think about it, it's a really different place. And so today, I hope to take you back in time and then back to the future and really give you some keys on how you, big or small your IT or operations group is, can modernize your DevOps team and how you can do that effectively, efficiently, with low friction. So like I said, right, if it touches production, it is production. Once again, you will see this slide all day, safe harbor, blah, 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 blah. Yay, safe harbor. So what does modern DevOps mean to me? Now, this is my own definition of it, because modern DevOps really includes a lot of things, and it's really about what you want to get to, right? What's your end game? Why are you going to modernize your IT or operations group? Well, you want to ultimately have software that's mature. And software that's mature is easily to update. And continuous integration and agile practices lead to software maturity if you're doing them right. In DevOps, we want self-healing machines. We want machine learning. We want an alert to fire, and then a job to run and fix that alert. And then maybe make a ticket to really deep dive and go, well, why did this happen in the first place? But I think really the big change for me is, it used to be where only the certain people that had access to production, your production network, could know anything about it. But we've changed that at New Relic. We have many experts in low tribal knowledge. We've changed our culture from an oral culture to a written culture, which is a lot harder than it sounds. Telling a dev, listen, or an ops person, take 5 minutes, write it down, like it's important. They'll be like, I don't want to write nothing down. Well, I don't either. So write good documentation, make smart documentation, make dynamic documentation. And how do you do that? Well, build it into the tool. Make the tool smart, and the documentation can go with it. But I'm not saying that's a one-size-fits-all, right? Because if it's a two-liner, go low-tech. Make a link to it in the alert. So to me, modern DevOps is really changing your culture, changing the way that you think about operations. Because really, operations is the product, We all of us, I think, want to build amazing things. Shouldn't the tools, the jobs, and everything you do be built with that same care and feeling? Don't you want to delight customers by having these supporting actors be just as powerful and awesome as that product? I do, because I think they're equally as important. You're not going to go get a $5 car wash on a $100,000 car. Well, maybe you would, but you probably don't need that $100,000 car. So, like I said, I want to take you back in time. And we're going to go just 20 years, right? Year 1995. So something else about me is that when I get nervous, I sound even more country. So if I say y'all or the inflection comes out, just go with it, because I'm from the best part of the country, the South and the West. So it happens. But let's go back 20 years. And we're going to give you a little bit of trivia. So 20 years ago, the 49ers won their 5th Super Bowl title. That's pretty impressive, right? We're in a historic place with a historic team, because they haven't won one yet. Well, since. We lost an American icon, Jerry Garcia, another San Francisco person that we all love. And Weird Al got his inspiration for his 1996 hit, Amish Paradise, by Coolio's 1996 hit, Gangster's Paradise. But that's more about how the world was. Let's talk about how our industry was, right? We were going from the privatized network. The National Science Foundation, this was the place where government and universities really communicated. But in 1995, it all changed, right? We introduced the high-speed backbone, and all of these things become public, right? The World Wide Web was in full swing. This time, in 1995, we still bought software off the shelf. You heard Lou say it. It's like, ship it was really putting it on a truck. But that's not how we are doing it today. But our practices, our IT doesn't have to be that way. Why are we going to run our operations group like it's 1995? So I want to take us into the future, back to the future. So before I do that, let's talk a little bit more about how pragmatic it was. Who here was around when ITIL was introduced? Okay, me and you. We're the old people. That's cool. I'm fine with that. I'm cool. So ITIL was this way of thinking on how to speed up the velocity and really make your IT infrastructure awesome. ITIL was a pain in the ass, okay? But there was some good things that came out of it. There was practice, there was consistency, there was, everybody was on the same page because ITIL is IT Infrastructure Library. So it was a run book. It was like, hey, you do this way, and we're going to go through this whole chain of events, and it's going to be awesome for you. But what it really was, it slowed everybody down, right? And we had waterfall development. We went from idea and requirements to dev, to QA, back to dev, back to QA, probably back to dev, probably a few more times if you're a really bad coder, but no judgment. And then it went into production. And what did the IT person usually say? You remember the skit from Saturday Night Live, the IT guy? Nope. It kind of was like that, right? You're not going to touch it because I don't trust you, because you're a developer and you're crazy. But that's not really effective. That's not efficient, right? You want the experts. You want the experts available, because what is that going to give you when you have the experts and everybody's accountable? It's going to mean that your mean time to recovery and in failure, because failure will happen. If somebody comes up here today and says, man, I'm so good at DevOps, I never have any failure, I'd be like, baloney, you're lying. Hardware fails, human error. You heard earlier that it was human error that brought down the New York Stock Exchange. So believe me, failure's going to happen. But why? You know, why do we want to modernize? Because it's a complex world, right? In 1995, only 1% of the world was online. That's not a lot, right? So let's talk about today. Today, 40% of the world is connected and online, and most of the world is on mobile devices, because that's how we get information to people. So we've made our world a lot more complex, but it doesn't mean we have to make our DevOps complex. We can be smart about it. We can have less people and more tools, more automation. And hopefully I can share some of the ways that we did that here in New Relic, because the number of users has increased tenfold. It's expected that in this year, there will be 4 billion people online. 4 billion people. Historians say that's how long life has been on the planet, 4 billion years. And if you think about it, it's a 1-to-1 ratio right now. But next year, there will be more people online than there was ever any people or any life on this planet. It's kind of crazy, right, when you think about it. So it's gotten complex, but we want to get smarter because we have to move with the age of technology. So the definition, big data is thrown around a lot. So how many people know what the actual definition of big data is? Okay, once again, nobody. Maybe that guy, because he's old like me. So the definition by Gartner of big data is high volume, high velocity, and high variety. In 2012, they introduced another V, which is high veracity, which means truth in your data. And that's what we want in New Relic. We want truth in our data. In DevOps, we want truth to know how to fix the problem, right? Because that's really ultimately important to us. So how do we do it? How did we do that? How do we take and modernize our DevOps group? Well, we treat it like a commune, right? San Francisco kind of developed here in the 60s. Thank you, Jerry Garcia and Jack Kerouac. I appreciate everything. But we treat it like a commune, right? Where everybody's accountable for success. On our development teams, we have site reliability engineers, we have designers, we have architects, and they are all on the same team. My team does not carry the pager. We make the product team, that owning team, do it. Because you know what? They know what's up. And when you take down that friction you are going to help your customers. You're going to help your users. So we've operationalized them. And believe me, putting devs on call was a scary thing. I won't even tell you how many came and was like, I just want to write code. And I'm like, I just want to sleep at night, so maybe you write better code. It's a win-win situation, you know, give or take. But it worked because at the end of the day, when you have those people accountable, guess what they're going to do? They are going to take care of those alerts. It's not going to be stressing out one group. Everybody's going to care, and that really changed it. So once again, I like trivia, so I'm gonna do a little trivia with y'all. So what do the following have in common? Now, this is a picture of two of my very favorite people at New Relic. That's Saxon, who's a distinguished engineer, and he's going to be around, so if you want to talk to him, you should find him. And our chief architect, Nick Benders. They randomly come to work dressed the same all the time. I don't know what's in the water. I don't know what Lou's done to us, but it happens all the time. If you watch my Twitter feed, anytime I see somebody dressing the same, I'm like, oh my God, get out of the office. But no, seriously. Seriously, what do the following have in common, right? They're tools. We use them for operations. We use them to build, deploy, and release. But there's something different, right? I use Puppet, I use Chef, I use Jenkins, I use Ruby, because in New Relic, we're polyglot everything, which is fun and makes my job awesome. Seriously, it does. But what do they have in common, right? Well, for us, they're all a part of our production network and our environment. Some of these tools are open source. Some of them live in the cloud. Some of them you would not consider traditionally a part of your product, but they are a part of your product. They are, and when you think about it that way, they're going to be amazing. Actually, they're going to be badass. That's right, they're going to be badass because you are going to make a badass product, so you want those supporting actors to be equally badass. So you heard earlier that human error took down the New York Stock Exchange, right? This is a real fact. Go Google it. I put the link, you know, hold me true. 22% of incidents are caused by human error. 22. That's a 1 in 5 odd. If you're a gambling person, those are really, really crappy odds. So how do you get past those odds, right? Because we've operationalized our team, step 1. We've made everybody accountable, step 2. Step 3, we're going to automate everything. Now, once again, this is not going to be an easy selling point. You're going to go up to your developer and you're going to say, listen, hey, listen, Jimmy, I know it's like one line of SQL, but you're going to have to script it. And Jimmy's going to be like, what? Are you kidding me? One line? I'm not going to break nothing. And then I'm going to go, hey, Jimmy, are you a database expert? And he's going to be, no. And I said, exactly. So guess what you're going to do? You're going to script it, and you're going to write explain, because how long is it going to take to ensure that you do something right? Read queries can take down a system. I've seen it happen. It's like, I'm just doing a read query, and then it bogs the network down, and then guess what happens? Everybody's mad at you. So let's not do that. Take 5 minutes. I know 5 minutes sounds like a magic number, but literally it's about 5 minutes to go and script that. But scripting isn't enough, right? So I say script it before you ship it. Right? Script those queries. Write background jobs. Don't run no background jobs from your laptop. Make an actual background job. There is technology, trust me, that you can use that you can run background jobs. Create applications and services. Think differently about how you run your business. Because, you know, at the end of the day, time is infinite. Did you know that? Time goes on forever. We only may be here for a minute, but time will continuously go. And when you think about time in that way, taking that 5 minutes is like a grain of sand on the beach. It's not a big deal. And you can tell your developers, oh, you know what? Time is infinite. Use that quote. Goes on forever. You got 5 minutes, so quit crying. I actually do talk to my team like that. They love it. So I know somebody's asking me, well, Dana, I just don't know what you mean, you know, if it touches production, it is production. Like, what does that actually mean? Well, like I said, all these supporting actors, all these SaaS-based tools, all these things that you do are now your production environment because you are a modern company, even if you aren't so modern. But you want to have a modern team. So they can come up. What about manual configuration change? Yes. Yes. Definitely yes, and I'm going to be like, why did you not write a script? But that isn't all, right? That isn't all, because it's not just the tools and the services that we use to make a modern DevOps group. So we've talked about operationalizing your dev teams, scripting and automating everything. But what about documentation, right? Like, I don't know about you. I'm not a tech writer, and you don't want to see how I'd write my tech, because it would probably be profanity-laced, and it'd be one-liners, and it'd be real country, so you don't want me writing it. But I do documentation. And how do we make documentation effective? Well, at New Relic, we follow an open source lifestyle. Like, what do you mean by that? All of our documentation is in our repo, it's in our tools, and anybody in engineering or technical support or any place in the organization can go and do a pull request and correct it, make it right, make it living, right? We have a guy talking later today, Ralph, who's going to talk more in depth about how you can make your documentation living and really embrace an open source lifestyle. Now, we don't only do that for operations. We do that for policies and procedures. We do that for how we run engineering. So if I want to say, like, hey, man, this policy ain't working out for me, I'll go do a pull request. And Jimmy can do a pull request too. It doesn't matter, because once again, you embrace that commune lifestyle, it really changes the way that you think. It changes your culture. It makes everybody accountable, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to make you successful, when you all own it. So dynamic runbooks, right? Talked about that a little bit. Make it a part of your tool. Who wants to open up a tool and then open up a web page and be like, okay, step 1, I got to do this, step 2. Nobody likes doing that. And if it's really complicated, like, you really don't want to do that. So make it a part of the tool, make it living, dumb runbooks, but be smart about it. There are some cases where you might do that. And like I said, on-call and alerting, at New Relic, guess what we make? We make software that monitors our websites, but it also monitors all our tools. And we've really embraced it in our organization. I know there's a saying like eating your own dog food. Have y'all heard that? I don't want to eat dog food. Or some people at New Relic say sipping your champagne, right? It's a little more classy. I don't like champagne, so I call it, drinking a Bloody Mary. Like, we drink our own Bloody Marys. And I heard tomorrow that there's going to be Bloody Marys. And I don't know if that was my influence, but, drink your own Bloody Marys. Embrace alerting and monitoring. That should be a part of your software development lifecycle. We don't let anything get in unless we have all of this monitoring and alerting in place. And it can be easy, right? Because you've scripted it. You've built it into your CloudFormation or Ansible scripts. You've built it into your jobs, your Chef or Jenkins configuration tools. So like I said, before you go into production, because we're continuously deploying, we're agile, we want you to check it before you wreck it, because believe me, you're going to wreck it, because failure happens. But just check it, right? Just check it before you wreck it. So when I was talking about ITIL earlier, there are some good things that did come out of it. And there's a new thing that's being thrown around called Bimodal IT. What Bimodal IT is simply taking those foundational principles that we've learned in ITIL and really modernize them, using those principles, but making them flexible, making them easy to use. Runbooks, they're great. You should probably use them, but make them smart. Production readiness. Go check your code. Like, seriously, check it. And I don't mean waterfall style. I mean, like, check it all the time. Be like, hey, is that good? Is that good? Make it a part of your build process. Who knows what the cab is? Okay, now, y'all know a little bit of ITIL, y'all big fakers. Change acceptance board, right? Change acceptance board. It doesn't have to be like it was, where you go and you say, hey, Sarah, can I put this change into production? And I have to wait on the phone for 2 weeks. No. We've automated it. We've automated it, because you still want that record. You still want to know. And when you're continuously deploying and you have 1,000 things going, to really, really, really affect your mean time to recovery, you can go look at this tool and be like, hey, Donna just deployed, and Nick over here deployed, and I think they deployed where they shouldn't have deployed. You have a record of it now. Make it smart. Sidekick process. Groupthink can be poisonous, even if we all dress alike. That doesn't mean we all think alike. We just have great fashion sense at New Relic. Sidekick it, Ask your friend, be like, hey, does this look good? And they're like, yeah, thumbs up it. And then finally, co-pilot process, when you are making those really hairy changes, just like aviators do, right? Because you care about what you do. Are the wheels inflated? Obviously, I'm not a pilot. Are the drinks stocked for the people on the plane? Have a co-pilot. I really hate flying. So if anyone is driving me back to Portland, we'll talk. And monitoring, once again, drink your Bloody Marys. Drink them up. You double fist those things. Because monitoring is so important. And I really think with our tools that you can solve a lot of problems because you're going to see from the application all the way through the server, and then you're going to know what your customers are using, so you can make good, measured, educated choices about what you do next. So I know what you're saying. Well, this is kind of complicated. No, it's not. Or you could be, I don't know, I only have one person, or maybe I have 15,000 people. You can change the way that you run DevOps. You don't have to do it all. You just have to get a little smarter about it, because we're in the age of smart. We're here because we are the thought leaders. We are changing the way that DevOps and development is, and we do smart development now. If anybody developed back in 1995, it was painful. That was also the first year that we introduced Java. Can you believe it? And how many of y'all are Java developers? I'm sure tons of y'all are. But that was only 20 years ago. And now we have languages like Go and Ruby. It's just amazing what we can do. So I know you're asking, because I hope you go back to your teams and say, listen, all of this, even though it's not here, is our production environment. And I love it. And so they're going to say, well, how am I supposed to know? How am I supposed to know that I should do all these things? Right? Well, ask them, well, what's the problem? Get a second opinion, because groupthink is poisonous, and we want to sidekick our stuff. Find a solution that's effective and that's living and dynamic, and then measure those results to see if it's worth it. Right? Because at the end of the day, you don't have to go super high tech. You can go low tech and still be a modern DevOps shop. What is this all going to get me if I do this? Well, hopefully, when you follow this communal lifestyle and we're all accountable, your mean time to recovery is going to be awesome. Your mean time between failures, which I honestly think is more important, is going to be longer. And then they won't be caused by humans. We won't be making a manual configuration change that takes down the New York Stock Exchange. We won't pull the wrong cable. We will be safe and we'll be fast. Because ultimately, right, what do we want to give back? We want to give back people their time. We don't want to just give back users their time from a slow site because you broke something. We want to give back your engineers their time. We want to give back the time that we have together to go do more amazing things and not fixing broken crap. So once again, to me, modern DevOps is forward thinking, right? It's looking into the future. It's being kind to your future self. You think, wow, what do you mean by that? Well, take that time to write that script, because think about where you're going to be in 10 days or 5 years or 20 years. Do something now that will benefit you then, and not just you, but everybody around you. And I guarantee that you're going to bring the friction down, and everybody will get it all in it together. Because you know what? If it touches production, it is production. Thank you.